Hey guys, what's up? This is Craig Cosmo. Today I just got done walking outside and I had a good time, exercising and even, looking out at the trees and the birds and also some nature things. But anyways, today I'm here to do a vlog about a TV series that I watched about 2 months ago called Spider-Man, the animated series. And I have to say that the series was really, really good. Now, I didn't grow up watching the Spider-Man, the animated series from the 90s, but I was most likely busy doing some schoolwork. However, I did hear the commercial about Spider-Man, the animated series, and I have to say that the Spider-Man, the animated series, as I said, was really good. And one of my favorite character in this series is Peter Parker, who is the main character of the Spider-Man the animated series. And I have to say that Parker is one of my favorite hero who happens to do what he can do to save people from bad guys and even stopping the bad guys. He didn't take the life of any bad guys at all, is because he only wants to do what he can to, capture them and maybe take them directly to the police or leave them so that the police can automatically arrest them and all this stuff. But however, during the season 1, episode 1, this episode mainly focuses on Peter Parker, who is talking to himself. Either through his mind, he's not saying anything, or he's just talking to himself without even, taking off his mask or anything like that. But he does, however, talks in most of the episodes, and he automatically went on a case of investigating the lizard. And not only he went on the case, he was also photographer of taking pictures of, Spider-Man doing, fighting style, which makes sense, as I said, is that Spider-Man and Peter Parker are one and the same character, and which is really good and which is really enjoyable. And what's even very cool about this episode is that, when we get to find out the character named Kurt Connor who went missing, and it turns out that in the backstory of Kurt Connor of why he disappeared or what happened to him, well, it turns out, as I said, is that Kurt Connor was turned into a lizard. Now, before he was turned into a lizard, is that he apparently wanted to regenerate his lost limb. And not only did he want to regenerate his long lost limb from his arm, and he wants to ensure that, everyone gets the treatment, but he first tested on himself with the neogenic experiments, which is some kind of, scientific experiment that regenerates, limbs or tissues or any of it. And once when Kurt Connor did it to himself, he was happy to have his arm back. But unfortunately, the side effect apparently turned him into this lizard. And once he became a lizard, and that's when, Peter Parker decides to, stop the lizard and maybe turn lizard back into Kurt Connors. And that's what was really amazing. And there was this other character named Eddie Brock who wanted to take the pictures of the lizard. Well, not take the pictures, more like taking notes so that he can ruin Kurt Connor's life and tell J. Jonah Jameson, which is another character who dislikes Spider-Man just like Eddie Brock does. And after that, he tried to show directly to the lizard, and it turns out that Kurt Connor was with his son, and that was really amazing. And automatically, J. Jonah Jameson yelled at Eddie Brock for, deceiving, and which was really funny. And that's pretty much in the first episode. And the second episode deals with a character named Scorpion, the guy who has, a green tail. But before we get into the character who Scorpion is, Peter Parker was being stalked by this other character named Mac Gargan. And you should know by now is that Mac Gargan would become the Scorpion. And because of that, Peter Parker was trying to figure out who was stalking him, because the reasons why Mac Gargan was stalking Peter Parker in the first place is because he wants to know how Peter Parker gets these amazing photo of Spider-Man. And even J. Jonah Jameson was also on the case and trying to get the idea of how Peter Parker got these amazing photo angles of Spider-Man, which was really awesome. And which was really, really good to do, to find out what's the connection between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So because of this, Peter Parker would then later dress up as Spider-Man to confront J. Jonah Jameson and Mac Gargan to tell him to lay off. And then Mac Gargan himself wished he could stop Spider-Man. And so J. Jonah Jameson agrees that, well, maybe what if we can turn you into a superhero that can stand up to Spider-Man? And so because of that, he went around and decided that, well, there is a project that, J. Jonah Jameson had funded, or maybe not funded, but it was Dr. Stillwell who funded this project. And so Stillwell decided to turn Mac Gargan into a Scorpion. And because of that, Mac Gargan was really, really nervous about the radiation, that he didn't want to be, some kind of, I don't want to use this word, but he didn't want to be some kind of monster or whatever. And the reasons why I use the word monster is because I don't want to use some word that might ruin my YouTube videos or channel or whichever. And after that, what happened is that when Mac Gargan was turned into a Scorpion, he wanted to beat Spider-Man by becoming a hero of this series. And that was really, really awesome. And and that was really, really awesome, where Scorpion was facing off with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was then, trying to do what he can to defeat Scorpion, because Scorpion was trying to, to defeat Spider-Man for J. Jonah Jameson. And once when Scorpion looks at himself in the reflection, he was, completely become metal unstable, and he became metal unstable. And after that, he became so, he went crazy, and he decided to go on a rampage and destroy some of the buildings and city, and automatically committing, some kind of destructions which he left behind. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, J. Jonah Jameson then later regret that he created something that he wasn't supposed to do. And because of this, J. Jonah Jameson wants to figure out how he can cure the Scorpion by asking Dr. Stillwell. And according to Stillwell, he said that the Scorpion, the man who became the Scorpion, cannot be cured, which is irreversible, and which was very shocking. And Spider-Man was doing everything he can to stop the Scorpion. And after he stopped the Scorpion, apparently, yes, the Scorpion was then later defeated, and automatically his plan to use the radiation to try to cure himself wouldn't work, because if Scorpion were to unleash the radiation, everyone in the city or wherever would automatically be, well, I don't want to use it, be D. And because of that, Scorpion was then later, defeated, and was then later arrested. And he wasn't defeated by Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man that, tricked the Scorpion, or maybe defeated him, either way, whichever one it is. But yeah. And after that, then we have 3 other episodes that involves a Spider Slayer, where Norman Osborn decided to ask, Spencer Smites to create robots that can automatically defeat Spider-Man. And the reasons why Norman Osborn was doing this and was asking for Spencer Smythe to create robots, it's because he was working for a character named Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, who wants to rule New York City, but unfortunately his entire, operation was um was interfered by Spider-Man, and that's when Kingpin was like wanting to get rid of Spider-Man from behind the scenes. Excuse me, I apologize for that again. But anyways, yeah, it was really, really good. And automatically, it was really, really awesome that we get to see the main bad guy behind, the Spider Slayer, and it was Kingpin. Well, not fully behind it, because he'll tell Norman Osborn to get rid of Peter, no, not to get rid of Peter, to get rid of Spider-Man, so that Spider-Man would be automatically be defeated. And so because of this, and in this two-part episode, and I apologize if I said three-part, in this two-part episode, 2 or 3 part episode, if I made a mistake, is when Spencer Smythe sent forth his Spider Slayer to capture Spider-Man, but unfortunately he ended up capturing was Flash Thompson, who turns out to be Spider-Man. Well, not the real Spider-Man. While the real Spider-Man was still inside the building with J. Jonah Jameson and Felicia Hardy. And what's even more great about this episode is that when Eddie Brock, a camera guy who, well, not a camera guy, but a journalist who was out there trying to expose Spider-Man for being of who he is. But then, unfortunately, it turns out that the character he exposed, which I've already mentioned it before, was Flash Thompson. And while the real Spider-Man was inside the building, and J. Jonah Jameson was very, very angry to find out that the real Spider-Man was still inside the building. And what's really worse is that, when the Kingpin's men then arrived inside the building to try to, to take out Spider-Man, and eventually Spider-Man then just showed up in time to save Flash Thompson and defeat the Spider Slayer, and while Norman Osborn, Spencer Smythe, Alistair Smythe, and Venom all escaped. Well, not Venom, and I apologize for that. I said Eddie Brock escaped. And after that, Eddie Brock apparently, lost his job, and the Spider Slayer was apparently defeated. Now, I can go on and on talking about the series, but I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I remember and how I remember or watched. So, anyways, yeah. One of my favorite episode that I like is the Goblins War, which is something I may or may not talk about in the future. But one of my favorite episodes, as I said, was the Goblin War, and which is about the battle of the Hobgoblin and Green Goblin, which was a very good episode, in which I won't spoil the rest of it about what happens, but I will tell you this, is that the Green Goblin is pretty much far more eviler than the Hobgoblin. And that's what really is very good about the series. And another episode that I absolutely like is when we get to see another villain in season 3 named Carnage. A villain who is introduced the very first episode of, Venom Returns, and that was something really, really cool about the series. And one of my favorite series would have to be season 1 through 3. The first season happens to involve with just only introducing multiple characters, while the second series or season happen to introducing to Neogenic Nightmare, and where Peter Parker was turned into Man Spider, and which is something I really wish I hadn't said, but it's just something that really did happen in the second season or the second series. And the third series involving about, the fathers, the sins of the fathers, and which was really, really good. And I absolutely I only like is just only season 1 through 3, because those were the best series and the best seasons of, the Spider-Man, the animated series. And it is really, really awesome. It was great and it was enjoyable to watch. And also, it was also pretty much fun. And and as I said before, I can go on talking about it again and again, but unfortunately, I am running out of time because I got to go outside, just to do some other stuff. So anyways, this is Craig Cosmo. Until next time, bye.